Welcome to the Positively Star Wars Senate podcast. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. May the Force be with you.
Looky, Senator. Decent Jedi arriving.
Let's make this our best show ever.
I will sign no treaty, Senator.
I am the Senate.
This is the way.
Hello, Star Wars fans, and welcome to Positive Star Wars Chat, because this is the Positively Star Wars Senate podcast, coming to you by the power of the Force, and with a little help from Skype. This episode recorded on the 21st of July, 2024. But before we get going with the show, it's time, as ever, for a quick word from our sponsors.
Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy until he received a mysterious message.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
To rescue a beautiful princess
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
Too little short for a stormtrooper.
and defend the forces of freedom against the Death Star.
Here they come.
The winner of 7 Academy Awards, the legendary Star Wars. Rated PG. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
Thank you to our sponsors, helping keep the lights on, the food in the cupboard, the wheels on the road, the voice on the airways, and of course paying for our D+ subscriptions. So let's introduce the crew. My name is Stephen, the only British member of the crew you might be pleased to know. And yes, I'm over in England. But however, the rest of my motley crew comes from across that vast pond of water to the west, to my west even, the Atlantic Ocean, in the United States of America. So in Skype order, we have Ryan.
Hello there.
Ron.
Greetings and salutations, fellow senators. Chancellor.
Ricky.
Hello.
And Marie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello everybody. Here we are all again for another episode of the pod. And it feels like yesterday we were all here, but we're here again. So I have got a little question that I've made up for people listening at home and for you, my fellow senators, to think about. Very relevant because we are going to be talking about the Acolyte and the final 3 episodes which we haven't discussed previously. Well, we have discussed on air anyway. And yes, so I mean, the question is literally I made the question up, so it may not come out quite right. But anyhow. In the final episode of the Acolyte, we see Finestero gather she asked for any Jedi that are available to come with her to Brendok to investigate what's going on. So simply, my question is, how many Jedi were there that were assembled on Brendok? with including Finestero. Now I'm assuming actually when I said that there's some didn't stay behind from where they landed. Now I'm thinking about it. So I should say how many were joined Finestero at the compound on Brendok, including Finester. It's more than 2, less than 20. So have a think. And
Is Basil a Jedi?
He's not a Jedi. No, he's a Sith.
Oh, I'll change my answer then. Okay.
Or Knight of the Round or something.
Yeah, like you had the answer, and you're like, well, but I need to know if I need to count him in or not. Why do I suspect it's a guess for all of us? So we'll see how well we can divine the Force. Good question.
Okay, so we are going to go and dive straight into the Acolyte. We're going to have no nonsense stuff here because we've got stuff to discuss and stuff to extrapolate on. So I'm told I've long forgotten what episode we got to. So it was episode 6 would have been the next episode that came out after we recorded our last pod, and that episode was called Teach / Corrupt, and that came out on July 2nd. Believe it or not, which seems like a lifetime ago now.
It does.
And I am reading off the synopsis that is on Wikipedia, and I'm already looking ahead, and I'm just saying that something doesn't make complete sense. So when I come to that point, you will notice it. So here's the quick synopsis on Wiki for the episode 6. Kaimal takes Osha to an unknown planet, where he dresses her runes. He claims to be a former Jedi who was betrayed by his master, drawing parallels to Osha's past. She is wary of him, but eventually agrees to try on his helmet. That was at the end, which is made from the lightsaber block in metal, cortosis. On the Jedi ship at Kofar, interference disrupts Sol's attempts to contact the Jedi Council. A partial message about losing his whole team makes it to Coruscant. Sol asks May to help fix the ship's power, still believing her to be Osha, and she is attacked by Basil, Master of Disguise and attack and all this kind of stuff. May overpowers him and resets the power. She tries to get Sol to tell her the truth about what happened on Brendok, but her wording reveals to him that she is not Osha. When the ship's power is restored, Sol stuns May and leaves with her just as Philester and a small band of Jedi arrive to investigate his message. They find the massacre and suspect that a fallen Jedi is responsible. With the Jedi, it says here, Mog, which is not a word, is it? Mob is more like a word, suggesting that only Sol would be powerful enough to kill so many. When May wakes, Sol says he will tell her the truth about what happened on Brendok. Is Mog a word?
It's a name. That was the one Jedi. That was the one Jedi in the council.
Oh yes, that's what I meant for Mob.
Bit of a
Why did they say
goofy,
like that?
goofy type of
Jedi
Jedi. But yeah, that was his name. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I think.
I don't know if they ever. That's a good question. I'm guessing since you don't know who to, they obviously don't say it, but it's in the subtitles. His name's presented.
Yeah.
Is it that blonde, awkward one?
Yeah, he's
the sort of tall, lanky, exactly.
Okay, I didn't know that.
One that she works with. Yeah, his name is Mog. It's definitely in the subtitles because that's how I know it. I watch with the subtitles on. Rewatch with the subtitles on.
What it really should
Is he
say.
half man, half dog?
Yeah, Jedi Knight. You should say Jedi Knight Mog here, and that would have been a bit more.
We're gonna go past Marie's Spaceballs reference. Come on, that was awesome, Marie. I appreciated it.
Isn't he a Padawan? He has a braid. Right?
Yeah, he's the Padawan.
He's got a braid. He's got a braid. Jedi Padawan, then yes, but yeah.
Did nobody catch this Spaceballs joke?
No, Marie, I gave you props for it. I appreciated it.
Not seen it yet.
What? I missed that. I totally missed that.
Oh, blasphemy.
Nope, I refuse to watch Spaceballs.
Who wants to jump in first with some thoughts on this episode?
This episode carries on Ron's long-term question of who collects all the Jedi's dead bodies, because here we are with another pile of dead Jedi, and it's like, well, what goes on with all the bodies? So there you go, Ron. Nothing really happens. Sol just kind of gets up and leaves, and I'm like, man, Ron's kind of right. Like, is he reporting this? Like, is anybody quarantining off the scene or what here? So
to clarify, my concern is lightsabers. What happens to lightsabers where when people move on or whatever? This one was easy because they were all dispatched and their lightsabers right next to them. So yeah, when they get there to deal with lightsabers or cleanup or body cleanup and all that, their lightsaber should be right there. So yeah, this one is pretty easy to answer where it happens to them. This is the episode that she confronts him, right, in the water.
Yeah, we got naked Khmer in this one.
I beg your pardon, but what do you mean, naked?
There was such consternation about her sneaking on all that sort of stuff, and him seducing her or something like that. It was just like I didn't see it that way at all. It was a vulnerability aspect to what was going on there, that he was. Yeah. He was showing, or I don't know if he was showing her, but he was showing her, he was letting down his guard so that she would approach, so that she would feel comfortable, so that he would be vulnerable enough that she would feel comfortable enough to sort of confront this big bad that's taken out a bunch of stuff and or what all she's seen in front of all that force flicked her out of the way with ease, right? So she's got to know he's very powerful. So to have that moment where he's completely vulnerable gives her an opportunity to confront him, and it worked, so to speak. I didn't see that as seduction or anything.
Like he doesn't care. He doesn't have his armor. He doesn't have his helmet. He's just like
he's letting her get to her path. Letting her, he's doing that bad guy thing and letting her.
He's like, I'm not going to attack
hatred.
you.
Yeah, I'm not going to. It's not about that to convert you. It's you have to convert yourself. You're just free here to help you lead your way. Yeah, you're free to go.
So in a certain sense, it is a seduction, but it's a seduction and a manipulation all at once.
Corey, that is gorgeous. You're absolutely correct, right? It is a seduction, not the seduction everybody was, or that a lot were making out to be in the physical, I guess, sexual aspect of seduction. It was a different. You're right. That's beautiful.
But we also can't deny that she looked down. So when he got out of the pool, she looked down. I was like, oh, I saw that.
It made it look like she was putting her eyes down so she wouldn't look up. Like she was trying to look away. That's what I got.
Yeah, she's not. We're not going over this. We're not spending time hashing that out or whatever. She's staring him in the eyes until you don't stare somebody in the eyes and you're
family friendly show. This is family friendly show, folks. Let's not go there.
Making hay out of that silliness. It's just
that was funny.
What are we doing?
But did anybody also notice that outside of Kamir's cave, he had handrails? So
how could you not?
Yes.
Wasn't that crazy? I mean, and all of the stuff that we go on about as Star Wars fans, whatever, they know what they're making. They know that we know and carry on about handrails on the Death Star and Space Force. What the hell was the other planet? Like Star Killer Base and just all those things. And there's handrails at the dock or whatever the heck that it's just
and a dark user's cave that overlooks the ocean.
The tiny, obviously, that it's repurposing somebody else's cave or something, and there's something going on there. But what a weird.
Have you not ever seen a villain in Star Wars? They all use canes, so they need handrails.
Very carefully. There's also a sign that says slippery rocks there.
Yeah, wet slippery. Yeah. And the thinnest. So there was a handrail, but the thinnest of anybody was going ass over tea kettle, over the things or whatever. They weren't really going to stop.
I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't even know that.
My guess is they're probably already at the location where it was filmed rather than they decided to put them in. But
I like that too. You could easily scrub them out.
Yeah, exactly. You could CGI that out. Why was that
Why
there?
would you?
An intern. I'm using Star Wars terms. An intern could be given that job to digitally remove these things, please. But such as it is. But we definitely, any Star Wars fan worth their salt definitely saw them and went, huh? Definitely
I didn't see them at all.
Kicked up there.
I was like, there's handrails on a random island, but none on the Death Star. How does that work?
Definitely kicked up an eyebrow when that happened. But that was such a good episode, just confrontational episode between her that he captures Osha, has her there, and gets her thinking, because this is right. Isn't that the episode he's like, use your anger to strike me down type of stuff. Oh, just all that good bad guy talk where she's holding the lightsaber to his throat. Right, isn't that this one?
Yeah, there were handrails in the Emperor's throne room. You had them where Vader and
that's right. There were.
Oh, that's right.
There was some across that wall.
Only where it mattered.
Yeah, only where it mattered.
The manager's office.
Luke needed something to be striking down with, or hitting accidentally with the lightsaber.
Well, see, I've always thought when Obi-Wan was doing the tractor beam, that's like an area they don't want anybody really going to hang out. So that's why they don't put handrails. Like then anybody would just walk.
An open bridge to get to it. Like, dang. That's they can't see anything in their stormtrooper armor. What if they
Everyone's expendable on the Death Star.
This would be a wonderful segue. Osha would have a big thing to do with if there was Osha in Star Wars. Oh wait, there is Osha in Star Wars. She's back on the Acolyte, where the tracker dude, the little tracker dude,
Basil,
was attacked her or was mad at her or something. He must smell. Well, I guess he's able to tell it's May. And that gets to the whole question: Does Soul know? And I kind of lean towards, at first he was in such disarray because of what just happened. He didn't, but I don't think it takes him long to realize that it's May. I don't think it's a revelation at the end or any sort of great sort of surprise to him switcheroo. I think there's no real. I don't recall any sort of big reveal of aha moment that they showed us where it switched or whatever, but he clearly knew it was. It gets to my question always, how'd the episode end? This is the episode that ends, I think, where she was about to, or that was near the end, she was about to say, she gets on the comm link or whatever and says help or whatever. They say, who is this? And she says, my name is, and that's when he zaps her and says, oh May, I got so much to tell you, or something. So yeah, what name was she going to say? Was she going to use Osha's name even though she was May, or was she going to try to say it was May to give herself up?
Yeah.
I can't remember the conversation. No.
I just kept
Yeah, it was a
remembering. He
it was
kept
just
saying like, "I'm going to tell you something very important in one moment, and then I'll tell you the thing I need to tell you."
Wait a minute, just to get a cup of tea and.
King of being cut off. I'm just like, just straight.
Just spit it out, man.
Frustrating. I definitely said it a couple of times, but yeah, to me the weird thing was that I'm going to tell you something and you're going to listen. You know, it was very, very fatherly, very like you're going to sit there and listen to every word I have to say. I've got something to. But it was to learn to find the episodes and finally hear it or whatever. It was pretty daggone important and telling and compelling and heavy weighted and heavy hearted and just a gripping part of Master Soul's path, you know, his arc, and just brutal.
I just like Basil doing kung fu fighting.
This episode was almost like resetting the two characters' feelings, you know, because the next one is where it like goes absolutely nuts. But they almost had a reset to kind of show Osha and May switching around, because May talks to Soul. He's like, it was an accident, you know. He's just like, I've cared about you this whole time, and May's like, well, I thought this Jedi was mean to him. But then there's Osha, who, and I love that she drops that, well, if you don't use the Force, you kind of lose control of it. So, and that's been a thing that you read in Star Wars, where it's like, if you don't constantly train with the Force, you kind of lose it, type of thing. So I like, and then he's like, well, there's semantics, and I was like, ooh, okay, that was clever. So I always love
who was trying to teach and who was trying to corrupt, do you think? Like, was Soul trying to corrupt May? Like, basically, he was going to tell her this a lie, or was he going to tell her the truth? You know, the entire time. And he's
never lied. He's never told the complete story or truth. Well, he never lied to them. Well,
his truth is like corrupted, you know. So he like omits things, which is.
Well, that's what I mean. He never fully told the full truth, so I don't know that, because even in a later episode about the "Did you kill my mother?" Did he kill? Well, he did. But I was going to ask, did he kill their mother? And clearly he did. But I guess the question I'm asking is, you know, what needs to be discussed to some extent in that last episode where it finally sends Osha over the edge because she hears it. He didn't kill her with a murderous intent. He didn't kill her with the intent of dispatching her to you know, it was out of protection of the girls in his mind. Whatever was happening when she was getting all dusty or whatever, a lot of people missed. May was getting dusty too. That, you know, the black mist or whatever is going on. She was taking May out. You know, they show us that. I don't know. We don't know if Osha was getting black misty as well. But when the mother starts doing that, May starts getting dusty as well. And so Soul in that moment, in the heat of that moment, doesn't know what's going on and is trying to stop her from, you know, getting dusty. And it works. It keeps May there, keeps her, you know, so she doesn't take her or whatever, but it ends up killing the mom. So my point of all that is he didn't intend, he didn't mean, he wasn't trying to, it wasn't with malice. It just happened, and he's been paying for it ever since with a heavy, heavy heart.
Which we should probably touch on once we get to that episode, because like I said, I 100% agree with you, Ron. There's a lot to discuss in that little scene. So
see, this is what I'm messed up. Is that hasn't happened yet in it?
No.
Yeah, no, that hasn't happened yet.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, but I mean, it's a good segue to move on to the next one, because like I said, this episode was mainly about setting up the characters where they're at.
It's actually resetting the pieces, I think.
Yeah, that's
right. Let's go on with that. It's the resetting the pieces.
I'm usually first to say filler, but like I said, this is kind of putting the parts back where they need for the next two.
Well, it's
nothing like huge revelation area.
It completely reset the board.
Yeah, I did like, just like a quick thing, that this starts talking about Vern's, for the people that read the book, her hyperspace visions. So, and it's mentioned this one, and this mentioned in the very last episode where she's like, are you sure you want to travel through hyperspace, Master? And she's like, yeah, I'll be fine. And then the last one is like, it's not my stomach, it's my head, because
That's
she
the
gets
that's
like,
the quote I remember. So that's her problem, so to speak. She gets nauseous, sickness, or
visions.
seasickness in the head or whatever that it
No,
causes.
she gets visions while she's in hyperspace.
It just
Yeah,
messes with her in that sense. So it's not a sick type of sick. It's that.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that
she
quote.
doesn't like seeing the future and stuff like that. It really messes her up, and so she tries not to travel through hyperspace as much as she can. So,
Well, Marie's
just
comment
a
about
little-
resetting the pieces is so perfect and true, because they said May is in the white suit, if you will, the white clothes. Osa's white. They weren't Jedi robes; they were commoner robes. I think it was. Anyway, May's now in white, and Osha is now in black.
Is wearing May's outfit.
They're resetting the pieces on the board. Such a great great way to look at that, and setting us up for the rest of how we go as to now who's good, now who's bad in what they're at, and Master Soul having to deal with his things because he now knows it's May that's there and confronts her. Goes to he doesn't tell her in this episode, so yeah, it's that next episode. So yeah, this one.
Oh, and before you ask, the way the episode ends is with Osha putting on that deprivation helmet. So
This is that one. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like they put it right on, and I find it interesting that he called it a sensory deprivation helmet. So, which everyone kind of made fun of it, like it's like a Magneto helmet. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess it kind of is. Kind of like it's maybe a more serious way to when, what is it? Obi-Wan put the helmet on Luke. It doesn't deprive all his senses, but it takes away some senses. Like remember, he's like, open up to the Force. Don't just use your vision, where this is kind of the same.
Don't use your eyes. Yeah, this is the same thing, but all your senses. Because doesn't he say only what you take with you, or just it's just you and the Force, and only what you take with you, and that comes back in another episode where we see her with it on. But yeah, the eye, putting it on and the eye slits, and I think the sound drops out. And
Well,
maybe there's ominous music. I don't know. It was a great. I enjoyed that scene.
Cortosis, doesn't it short out like electricity and like laser stuff, right? So like, and we know that Obi-Wan tells Luke like the Force is the energy field that surrounds everything. So it kind of disrupts the energy field of the Force with the helmet. That's why they're like, you can't do any Jedi mind tricks when you're wearing that helmet because it's stopping that energy field. So I wonder if that's something that comes into play with the cortosis.
Does use he puts the helmet on in the last episode, and then he I don't want to spoil it. He erases May's mind, So
when he has the helmet on,
he still can use the Force.
Yeah.
But I do kind of agree with you. I mean, I was thinking the same thing where it obviously, I don't know if it's a byproduct of cortosis where you can't have your mind read type of thing. So
it seems to work from like whoever's wearing it can do mind stuff, but you can't affect it from the outside.
It's a high performance fabric like Under Armour where it wicks the moisture away, so you can send the Force out of it, but the moisture doesn't get to you. The Force doesn't come into it. So it's a high performance metal that allows one way transfer of Force capabilities.
Yeah. And I think it's just
it needs an Under Armour logo on it, and then it'll be golden.
I think it's more like the mind. It doesn't allow people to penetrate into the mind. You can still use Force on them, but again, just magical Star Wars stuff. So that's how
Go for the legs. Go for the legs.
And clearly he needed it and he wanted to stay hidden. We don't know that backstory. Obviously there's something there, and that makes you salivate for more of what's going on between him, and all that kind of thing. That's why he has it. But it's also, it seems, why isn't it more prevalently used in a shield and all that? It seems very fragile that it can take the hits, but it also takes the punishment to go along with it. So that's why it's not more prevalently used and very hard to
going back to the rails thing. I thought I read somewhere that planet that he's on, that he's stationed at, is actually a mining facility for cortosis. That's why he's there.
Yeah, clearly that cage is.
Yeah,
that cave is being repurposed, and
so they would have rails.
They would be there. They'd be there for some other reason.
Hopefully, they'd have rails in a mining facility. I mean,
yeah.
Well, remember, there's also rails on the bridge on Brendock where the two sisters were. They had rails, so
that's true.
Maybe it's a mining thing.
This was the episode where we realized it wasn't Plo Koon, because this is the episode where we see they get there, right? This is the episode where they see all the dead bodies. Like Ryan was saying, they're there to collect see what's going on or whatever, and we see. Sorry, Ryan. We see Yord's body. on the ground. I think we see the who's the girl?
Nameless
Jackie.
Jedi 2. I don't know.
Okay, no, he says was
Jackie.
that its name? Jackie. Yeah, we see Jackie, and we see Plo Koon, or a Plo Koon species. So clearly, it couldn't have been Plo. You know that's
It was Coplone.
Yeah, there was Plo Koon the Elder or whatever. But yeah, there was speculation about it, and I think there was confirmation that it wasn't him. It was like, why not? And it could be him, blah blah blah. And it's like, oh well, now we know why it couldn't be him. He's dead on a forest floor somewhere with Jackie and Ewart and other red shirts. So
yeah, and that's why
the fan base has got to calm down sometimes.
That's why I would say just because the character looks like the species doesn't mean they're the species. Yeah. And then I was like, that's not the character. And they're like, that was totally Ki-Adi-Mundi. And I'm like, dang it. So, but obviously that wasn't Plo Koon either. So
yeah. All right. So
moving on.
Well, we could also discuss the whole. We were talking. I remember we were so happy, or sort of kind of like the slashing of night day, and this was what teach corrupt and all that, and it just feels like those two episodes that didn't have that or whatever, they broke them up into separate episodes, like they were going for that, and if it was stitched together or whatever, or if they were bigger episodes, I think those were slashes as well that got broken apart, which it worked. I don't know, I like the naming of the things and thought
again it focuses on the sisters, because this was about moving the sisters into new positions, and you're teaching one and corrupting one, or one was taught and one was. And again, like terms can apply to both sisters.
Yeah, I think exactly. I was just getting ready to say that. Yeah, I think it goes both ways. It wasn't that one side was taught and one side was corrupt. Both sides were taught and corrupted, and corrupted and taught, and those chess pieces that are now reset on the board can now move in different ways, as we see in the next episode, which is called
Choice. Episode 7, Choice. Right,
so Choice.
There's a nice long one here.
Right, this is a nice long one. Next to last is exciting.
Time to go back 16 years earlier. The 4 Jedi discovered the Coven, while investigating divergence in the Force on Brendok, which could create life. The Jedi Council decides that the Trins are too old and should be left with the Coven, despite Osha's wish to become a Jedi. Corral strokes May's anger over Osha's decision, leading to May accidentally starting the fire. She didn't start the fire. Exactly. The results for the Trins' M count, which shows their Force sensitivity, indicates that they were artificially created, with a single consciousness split into 2 bodies. Torben, eager to return to Coruscant, sees this as proof of the Virgins and rushes to retrieve the girls. Sol follows, and the pair confront the Coven before Kalnaka and Endera arrive. Sol kills Anasea when she attempts to use her power. The witches possess Kalnaka and use him to attack Torben and Sol until Endera overpowers them. Sol is unable to save both May and Osha from the burning fortress and chooses to save Osha. As they return to Coruscant, Endera decides to blame the incident on May's fire and not tell the council about Sol's actions so he can train Osha as his Padawan.
What I loved about
so it was like that they weren't.
I wish they would just say midichlorian.
Everything's an M count. So this episode was like a total info dump, and I don't know if this one might have been like my favorite of the whole series, because everything leads up, maybe not leads up to this, but it teased everything and all the questions people complained and ranted about. And we want to see a Wookiee fight. Why did they kill those people? Why did they get into the building? What happened? Why is everyone dead there in the middle? Like, did the Jedi kill him? Did they die of smoke? Everything was answered. Everything was answered in one episode. And it was like, when I was taking notes on this, I had to pause it, because it was just beat after beat after beat of amazing storytelling. And that's why if someone for some crazy reason was able to wait for the binge and they had all this stuff answered, I love this type of storytelling where it teases all sorts of stuff. It keeps teasing and teasing and teasing, and then it's just, here's the whole flashback and your world changes on everything. And even after this episode, I am still, the Jedi were right. I'm still Team Jedi all the way. And while there was mistakes made, which Ron already touched on a little bit, there was some mistakes. It's not the Jedi are the problem. and again, we can touch on it a little bit later, but Soul followed his emotions, and Jedi warned not to do that. And in the end, he's followed his emotions. And
interesting. I might debate that a little later. Did he follow did he follow his emotions, or is it more of a Watergate sort of thing where things were done and they tried to cover it up after the fact?
There was no emotion there.
That's mistakes on everyone's. That's mistakes on everyone's part.
How they handled it, how they handled it might have been emotions or where the mistakes were. The one thing you said, Ryan, about this episode, I agree. I think this might have been my favorite as well because of the info dump and all of that. And the one thing that I remember taking away watching it was just all those yahoos that were mad at just the, oh, ew, the Jedi. Ew, I didn't like the Jedi because they were out hunting for children and looking for things. And just, ew, that's such a bad way. That's not what they were doing. You jumped the gun. We all jumped the gun because I think I may have had an initial bit of a cringe factor of like, is that how this took place or whatever? But again, it speaks to that you have to see the whole thing before you start getting super, super judgy because they weren't on that planet looking for kids to steal. They were on that planet doing something completely different. And then stumble upon them and to see the show's title could have also been, or in parentheses, from a certain point of view, because Soul follows them and they show him sneaking in and seeing things. And I remember the scene he sees, like from his point of view, he thinks the witches are bad for the children and corrupt. He sees the mother say the Jedi won't announce they're attacking you, whatever, and attacks the girls. He doesn't see the full picture, that it's like a training session. He stumbles in and comes in at the wrong time, and from his perspective, just sees her attacking them and force pushing it and sort of corrupting them against the Jedi, saying the Jedi won't tell you when they're going to attack.
Not even the perspective, because they're basically trained them to be like weapons, so it's like they're children.
From his perspective, from what he sees, he sees.
Well, no, I mean that's just
sees that one lady with the horns yell at him, and he follows them. So if you watch just what he sees, not what we know, but if you try to take all that out and just go with what does he know and what is he seeing at his times or whatever, he sees them attacking the girls. Wrong. Yeah, in his mind, he was protected. Now, after the fact, later and all, and that's what they have to deal with. That's what they're all guilty of, or the guilt that they carry with them so much so that it causes all the pain and all the consternation and all the problems. That if he saves both of them, I think he's right. If he was able to save both of them, then none of it's a problem, so to speak, because he could have told the truth, I guess, and everybody would have understood / believed. But because
when they were doing the Jedi interview, and then they're talking to May, and she's like, "We all have to be sacrificed. We're going to be sacrificed for the coven."
Well,
so he's like thinking human sacrifice,
Yep. There was that line of sacrifice that makes him go, "Wait, what?"
It turns up that urgency.
Sure.
And that's why it's a miscommunication between everybody. Like the way the coven brainwashed somebody. Soul rushes off and sees things, like you said, only parts of the picture. May doesn't understand what's going on and like tells them, "I'm going to be sacrificed." And Dara was like, "We shouldn't do this," and then we're convinced by Soul and Torben. There's just so much in the episode. I honestly don't even know what to focus on because it just goes so deep into everything that happened between these characters. And like I said, why they did make mistakes. Everything they were doing.
Mouthy Padawan too.
And we've seen that with Padawans too. Even in the books, remember, I think it was Vern's Padawan or one of them always complains like, "I want to go back to Coruscant" and stuff like that. So it's like this isn't a new type of story because you got to think.
Bell like that too?
I don't know if it was Bell or
which one wanted to go back to the one to be on the Coruscant.
I think it was Emery.
What were you going with?
My two things that I took away from this is the truth depends greatly on your own point of view, which as Obi-Wan said. And then also the road to hell is paved with good intentions because what Saul set out to do and what happened completely diverged and set up this entire mess.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, he was way too emotional, way too attached, which is not Jedi-like. So
I don't know that I see that emotional attachment aspect or whatever. I see him Jedi
well, he's like freaking out every time they mention the kids, like every time.
Because he's
like,
trying to protect them. He
He's
even
trying to
says,
protect them.
who's going to protect them if not the Jedi? So I don't know that I agree or think that I saw it as an emotional thing. It's his charge, their charge as Jedi. They were there looking for virgins, plants, and blah blah blah. But then he stumbles across his children. That wasn't by choice. That was the will of the Force. We're here to protect them.
Previous episodes that they've kind of hinted that he gets too attached to things. So like that's why Jackie's like, why do you keep old hollows of your former Padawan? Like that's not something they're supposed to be doing. Like he gets way too invested emotionally, and he shouldn't as a Jedi. They're supposed to be compassionate.
That's fair because this whole incident is why he kept. What was the pictures?
Well, I mean,
what
this
was
is
the
like
hollow that he had. He
Anakin
had the hollow of
going
Osha.
after,
So that's
Padme
not
when
just
he's not supposed to. That's the same thing. So he
no, I think it's
dealing
different
with
because of what happened, because of what transpired and how it all went down. That's not attachment. It's sort of guilt.
It's guilt.
Which they're not supposed to have. There's no emotion there.
I don't see this as an emotional attachment thing. I think it's
I'm kind of with Ricky, where I think he does have more attachment than he should. And even in the fine episode, he says, "I did this all because I love you." Like he was going to say love. He wasn't going to say because I like spaghetti and meatballs. He was going to say
she killed him. Yeah, she does kill him. The subtitles don't. The subtitles drop at I, but he definitely has an L before she force chokes him completely or whatever.
He even tells Zendara, he's like, I feel a connection with her. And like he's just like, don't confuse that with your emotions. That they're supposed to be compassionate and want to help people, yeah, but to get that single-minded, like this has to be done. But it really wasn't even his fault. It was Torben's. So
well, I contend that. So yeah, I contend that right. It was that compassion Jedi aspect that has him doing all this, not an emotional attachment. There was even a line that she says, that's why you don't have a Padawan and don't confuse and all that sort of stuff. But I don't. I just saw him trying to protect, doing the charge of the Jedi, which is finding Force sensitives and testing them and working with them, and in this case, these girls are being that he needs to protect them, or they should be trying to protect them, and the whole vergence of the Force, all of that confluence has got him with this quote unquote attachment to Osha. And it's not an attachment to Osha. It was an attachment to Osha and May, but I guess he did start out with Osha. She was the good one, and he had to make that choice. And God, that was an awful episode to watch. Not awful to watch, but just a powerful scene where he makes that choice.
She was a murdery kid.
So it was
yeah, and that's it. He can be both. Like he can be somewhat a little attached and truly is following what the Jedi want to do. Because like I agree with you, Ron, that it really was like, if not the Jedi, then who? Because their point of view saw the wrong thing. But at the same time, the Coven took over their Padawan's brain type of thing. So it's you don't know what they're trying to do. They're creating life, which is like really, strange to everybody, and it's like, this is kind of illegal, but
threat to the Jedi, threat to things, so to speak, and dark side-ish stuff that it just in the heat of all that, again, back when in the early episodes when people were thinking, we were guilty of it too, but thinking they were there hunting kids, they should know more. I think even the witches said, the all-powerful Jedi couldn't see or didn't know there was life here and all this. They weren't there for that. They were there for a completely different reason. So they're spun on their heads quickly, very, very quickly, that they're trying to make calls back to the council to figure out what to do. And what's his name goes all Leroy Jenkins on everything and just takes off and creates an absolute mess of things. It was,
let's not forget that it's not solely the Jedi that started this, because Coral pushed May. Coral was like yelling at May, and it's like, you don't want the Jedi to take your sister. You need to stop them. And then she smashed the controls so they can't get in. And then she started to fight May, and it's like, if you want to get them, you need to go to May, and we need to stop the Jedi. And then Coral goes after.
You're right.
So, but I feel like we're getting scattered just because there's so many things going on with this episode. So let's just touch on what you touched on already, Ron, where the unfortunate where we go through everything that Soul is doing, and we get to the point where and again, Andera's like, I should go alone, and Soul convinces her that's like, we should go together to show unity. So Andara's, I guess, mistakes in all this is that she kind of had the right idea the whole time, but she let someone else's emotions get in the way. And it leads up to, like you said, Soul really does in the end kill the mother, but at the same time, the mother turns into a smoke monster, and May starts who he thinks is Osha. So again, he sees twins and immediately thinks, "Hey, it's Osha." Where Osha's trapped in the fire.
Is this that episode where he yells, "Hey, Osha" or something, and we all know it's May. So this is that, and so he thinks. So you're clarifying for me. So we know it's May turning smoke monster with Mom, but he thinks at the time that it's Osha, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So
either way, he would have protected either one of them. Like, I don't think that was really a factor.
I do agree, but he still went to Osha kind of first type of thing. So that's
when you got to think they were just there talking to them earlier, and they like possessed Torben. So like they made the first strike basically, even though the Jedi showed up at their door. But so he doesn't know what they're gonna do. So she gets all like wraithy, and
he doesn't know that they're just pretty much teleporting. He just sees her turn to a smoke monster, and then it doesn't matter who the kid is. One of the girls.
Were they teleporting? I thought that she was gonna possess her and make her run off.
We see Coral do it. She goes smoke monstery and disappear, like gets somewhere else, kind of thing. But he doesn't know.
The Wookiee.
He doesn't know what's going on or whatever, so he doesn't know. But it's Marie's beautiful, eloquent statement of one is the path of good intentions is the road to hell. Whatever. Sorry, I'm butchering it because it is that because Coral has the same.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, Coral has the same. Is it Coral? Right. She has skin in the game with regards to being culpable of starting it all, or being a mess in it, because like you said, she told May to get angry and starts a fight with the Jedi, and you shouldn't have brought him here, and it's like, well, no, who, me, or whatever that line was with the Wookiee, which was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Great way to introduce the Wookiee in a Wookiee fight and a Jedi fight, and watching that visually on the screen was.
Before we get to that, though, I mean, it's what I was saying with Soul is he probably thinks that one of the girls is being killed. So he was ultimately trying to protect one of the girls, and he's like, I don't know what's happening, but turning into a smoke monster isn't natural. So you might be sacrificing the kid. Right, that's when he turns and kills her.
Torben told him that Anastasia was in his head, like trying to, possessing him. So he's already like wary of her and like.
That's right. He does. We don't see it. It's all off screen, off camera, or whatever. But right, he does. Has to have explained in some fashion.
Yeah, he kind of does.
How truthful he is, or how full of information he. But you would hope at that point he would be not trying to be a Padawan, just flat out spill the beans of everything that just would happen because they've never seen it before to help try to understand it. But right, so that's also in his head, in Master Soul's head of these ladies have wicked crazy powers because they were able to take over somebody's mind. They take over Cal Naka's. So he hasn't seen. He kills the mom before Cal.
No, but they do it to Anastasia does it to
the mom.
Yeah,
he kills the mom before Cal Naka's black.
Wait, what was she trying to do though? Was Anastasia gonna go into May and make her run off? Because she said I was trying to save Osha.
Well, remember
she said I was going to let her go with you. He said I was going to let her go with you.
She doesn't have to turn into a smoke monster to take over her mind because she took over, or I guess one of the other sisters, they'd already took over Torben's mind earlier, and they didn't turn into smoke monsters. It was them trying to just get away.
I agree. I think it was kind of the teleport trying to get out. Because Coral does it. She was under threat, and then she smoke monsters away.
Yeah. And then Coral attacks Soul. I guess Anastasia, mother, says, I was going to let Osha go with you. And you see, he realizes, he's like, oh my God, I made a mistake. And then Coral beats his butt, and she's like, fight me. And he's just like, I'm not going to defend myself.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I've already made one mistake. I'm not making another.
Yeah, he feels terrible about what happened, but then you have this series of
unfortunate... That was a nice callback to May saying, fight me,
Yeah. In the first episode. A series of terrible events where it's like it all started with everybody's point of view, and then it leads to Coral, and then Soul doesn't fight back until the explosion happens, and he realizes, oh my gosh, I have to save people. And that's when he pulls his lightsaber and cuts the staff in half, and then she disappears. And he's like,
yeah, he just ends it. He's just like, all right, I was trying to be nice, and I was trying to say I'm sorry, and I was trying to, but stuff's happening now, and you know, I'm gonna end this fight. We gotta save and try to clean up this mess. And yeah, that's where she disappears. Or when does she say the line? Because I love the line. Shoot, I'm gonna have to go back and watch. Yeah, I love the line. You shouldn't have brought him here. And isn't it Torben that says why, or who says whatever? And she says no, not him. And then when we realize she's referring to the Wookiee. What was that scene?
Oh, that's coming up soon, because Torben's out there with Soul, and after Coral disappears, the voice is like everywhere, and it's like, you shouldn't have brought him. And he's like, I've defended my mind. And it's like,
that's what the line that I couldn't remember, right? Yeah, that was it's like, no, my mind's a steel trap now, or whatever. And he's like, no, not him.
Then
like,
not him.
If anything, Kalnaka's the only one who actually didn't make any wrong decisions. He was just I guess he let his defenses down, and he let an army of witches get into his mind, and his regret. And Wookiees have a natural compassion, because again, that's in the High Republic. Like, the most compassionate Jedi is Buri Yaga, who has just a better connection with life. So he just feels terrible for attacking another Padawan, or
for letting, like you said, for letting them get into his mind. And that would have kind of explained why he was trying to study the witch. He wants to know how. He would feel bad about not being the Padawan. Sure, he's got an excuse. He's not, but the Jedi Master Wookiee shouldn't have let that happen as easily as it did. So he's got to feel guilt that happened, and he wants to know. He's trying to learn more about why they were able to do that so easily to him. So you're right. While he didn't really make any mistakes, he also wasn't a very good Jedi in being able to block that out and keep that out of him. So that's his guilt. That's his contribution to all of this. Do
you guys think that getting possessed like makes your hair fall out? I'm pretty sure it does.
Well, his head was already shaved. He just didn't have it. Oh,
yeah, Torben and him both had lost hair, so losing that piece. So yeah, it was wonderfully.
And then it leads to
a great use of the Force, this thread. That why couldn't other? Luke says it that the Jedi think it's theirs to control and own solely and all that. And why wouldn't there be other high M count individuals not trained in the Jedi arts, trained in the Jedi ways or whatever, but have their ways of sort of controlling or manipulating the thread, the Force, whatever, that it makes sense. The galaxy's huge, and this is so much earlier that eventually it gets culminated into just the Jedi and Sith, if you will, whatever. But it makes sense that there would be entities like this that have some capabilities, and because they're not trained in the Jedi ways with their books, they have different Force powers that are unnatural or just different, and not the ones we've seen before, turning into smoke monsters and possessing people, all that sort of stuff. Why not?
I mean, they can probably do it, but it's like outlawed for the Jedi. It's part of their rules.
And then the other thing that we have to remember is people always rag on the Jedi Council in the prequels, but the Council was right in this. They said, no, she's too old to be trained. Like, let them do what they will to the kids. It's not our job to interfere. Well, then when they interfered, it came down to being like, and I hate skipping so far to the end, but Indara is the one that's like, because Soul's like, no, we have to tell the Council. And Indara's like, everything you did for this girl, allow her. The one thing she wanted was to be trained, and now because of everything that happened, we have to hide this, like truth by omission type, lies by omission. So it's like the Council won't allow her to be trained unless we say her sister kind of killed everybody, and then she has no family, she has nothing, and then the Council will feel bad, and it's like, okay, I guess we'll train this 8-year-old type of thing. So
it's that paving with good intentions. It's another mile of paving that just got laid of the good intentions when Indara makes that statement and comes to that realization or comes to that conclusion or decision of how to handle this in the best interest of Osha, which ultimately comes back to bite him in the butt, because then when she learns the full truth, she's dispatching a soul. It just, such a good, I don't know, I hear consternation about it, but it's such a good addition to to the Star Wars lore
I
and
think
story.
the witches were evil and they deserved to die.
Oh, stop!
They were evil.
How were they evil? They weren't evil.
They were basically training a camp to like take over and kill Jedi, and that was their whole intention.
Oh, it was not.
Time.
Where do you get their intention was to kill Jedi?
That's what they were
just trying to
explaining
keep
when
their...
they were doing the ceremony, and then she was telling them like they're not going to attack. They're attack you like this, and like they were basically training them to fight Jedi. That's why they wanted the power too.
They did use the Force to fight against him. So yeah. I mean, I don't know if I
guess they were exiled. So yeah, what was
assumed.
their exiled? Why were they hiding and all that sort of stuff? Because the Jedi would have been having a way of not being keen on them existing and practicing the way they practice.
I mean, they weren't looking for them. They would have left them alone if they wouldn't have the kids, being trained.
That's what I mean. So that's why I don't think they were. And likewise, the witches weren't. The witches could have attacked. Well, I guess Coral wanted to, right? Anastasia didn't want to, but the witches could have attacked the Jedi because they didn't.
Anastasia did. She attacked Torben.
The
she
Jedi
got in his mind.
No, I mean before they even get in on the base, whatever. They knew the Jedi existed before the Jedi knew the witches existed, so they could have sneak attacked them, at night and all that sort of stuff if they truly wanted to dispatch Jedi. But that wasn't their purpose.
I don't think they knew the Jedi were there. I mean, they really didn't say it. And they're just like, well, they just did their own thing. They didn't care that the Jedi were there. They weren't out looking around. They all stayed in that mining facility. So
I think you got to go back and watch. I think the lady with the horns, the other mother.
Later on, they do see that they do know that they're there.
She knows their camps out there, and that they've been out there for a while. What are they doing? And
but see, they're still preparing to do their whole ascension ceremony, so they don't have the power to. They think they don't have enough power to defeat the Jedi yet. So until they get that, ascension stuff going on. So they're not prepared to go do a full-on assault on, a group of Jedi. They're still,
Yeah, well, regardless, let's get back to the Kalnaka fight, because that was just, I mean, everyone wanted a Wookiee fight, and I think it broke everyone's expectations. It was incredible just to see two little humans panicking like, please no, and get thrown around like rag dolls. And then we got to see a Wookiee do a roundhouse kick through a wall. Like, this was incredible in every way. I loved that fight.
Agree. It was visually stunning, exciting to see, and I thought it was a great story way to, it just wasn't him fighting a bad guy for a while and then they go their separate ways type of thing or whatever. It was
when Torben does that move with the lightsaber upside down, like he blocks him. Yeah, that was like, how did he hold on to that saber that way? Like that was intense.
Yeah, he gets his face clawed up. So I have a theory that I was throwing around online, because a lot of people were kind of like, well, what happened with all the witches? So they took over Kalnaka's mind. And remember, it took a room full of witches to take over Kalnaka. So Kalnaka might have been able to block out one or two witches, but when you have
the power of many, yeah, like
the power.
It was
yes,
they were able to overcome them, and then Indara drops in to save it, and she looks into his mind. So my theory is, the way that the witches ended up dead is because we know that when Mother Anastasia went into Torben's mind, she was in his mind, like talking to him. So in Kalnaka's mind, I think Indara went into his mind and seen all these witches in Kalnaka's mind. And I wish, again, this is something I wish they would have explored a little bit more on screen, but that's the part of Star Wars, is to talk about things not on screen, is that she has this room full of witches in Kalnaka's mind, having him kill all these other Jedi, trying to kill. So, and she probably talks to these witches like, leave him alone, and he won't stop attacking or fighting. So she has to fight all those witches in his mind, and she kills all the witches to save her friends. And because,
which isn't that an older public thing than battle meditation, right? Knights of the Republic.
Yeah, and Avar Chris has it too, pretty much. So,
I like it, Ryan. But I also, so I like both of them. I also like a theory I heard posed that they were sort of out of body in doing that, and when she severs the connection that it's almost like a matrixy type of thing that they were, you know, out of body doing their thing, controlling him, and if she gets in and severs the connection, then their bodies go limp. It's very Matrix, right? It's because that's what happens to some of these people. They die in the Matrix. They die, but it kind of dovetails or goes right into what you were saying, that no, she fought them in Kalnaka's mind, kills them all at once, though. That's the only weird, you know, if they slowly died off one by one, that would kind of be what you were saying, where, because how does she kill them all at once? But regardless, yeah, that fight sort of took place in that space. That's where she dispatches them, and then that's where their corporeal bodies all die.
It is Trinity, so.
And like they say in the Matrix, without the mind, the body can't survive. Yeah. So when you kill them in the mind, then they're just like, okay, well, the body's dead now. So Indara had to kill a bunch of witches to save her Jedi friends. And then she's just like mad at everybody. So that's, you know.
But again,
I think that's how it was.
Who's at fault there? Because they possessed him. You know, she wouldn't have done that. She didn't intend. Nobody went there to kill all the witches. You know, they weren't there for that. But that path, that damn path, and its paving, because you know that's what the story is in so many ways, and so many different levels, that it affects everybody. That they possess his mind. She's got to do something to get him out. Not what she wanted to do. If she could do it all over again, she would. Soul the same way. If he could do it all over again, instead of stabbing the lightsaber in the black smoke monster's heart, he would have sliced off a leg. I don't know, you know, how you handle it differently.
They definitely were aggressive, though. Even when they were having that conversation, and Nassau was saying like, "Oh well, we should let her go," and they're like, "No, we can't. We need her." Well, you know, they're kind of like having a mutiny against her, basically.
Yeah, you know, and she's like, "I choose to be a mother."
Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
I'm gonna let my child choose her dreams and the life that she wants to live. So oh man, it's just, I think Marie's slogan of the path to hell paved with good intentions, it just goes across this entire series, because it's the Jedi are trying to do good, but they, you know, they're assuming the wrong thing. The witches do, you know, they're trying to just live their life, but at the same time they're attacking the Jedi and like taking over people's mind, and like Coral is driving everyone to violence, you know, where Anastasia is like, well, let's try not to, but then Anastasia, so it's just, everything is colliding, and if you can't really choose a side. While I was saying I still believe the Jedi were in the right, Endara and Vernestra are right. Soul and Torben made mistakes here, because Torben, as a young kid, just ran off, and he's like, this is how we get out of here. Yeah. You know, we follow this virgins, and it
was Leroy Jenkins. I don't know if you guys know what that reference is. If not, you have to go look it up. But they're all sitting around planning. They're all making all right, well, we're going to do this, and let's do that, and we'll try to do this or whatever. And he just goes running off with the hell with a plan we need to make, and just messes up the entire attack on the
hell with the plan. I want to go home. Let's do this.
The attack on the warlord or whatever that game was, that just it was such that reference in a big way that's immediately where my mind went to.
World of Warcraft.
That's what it was. World of Warcraft. And it was just, you mentioned something, Ryan, about the witches attacking the Jedi and getting into their mind. The only thing they did, it gets back to what I was questioning before about wanting to dispatch a Jedi. They could have done something like that while they were at their camp. They only did it while the Jedi, because in defense of their homestead or whatever, the Jedi were in their space, so they sort of attacked in that manner. Whereas if they were truly wanting to dispatch the Jedi, they could have done it while they were at their camp and dispatched them, or, you know, took over their minds and had them fight each other, or whatever it was that would kill each other. So I don't believe that was ever their intent. But again, they're forced to protect and do what they think's right in protecting of their stuff. I do have one question. Back the first time we saw that, she's in Torben's mind, and she's getting him to like just ask. She's seducing him to some extent or whatever, and she's like, just ask me the question. What was that about? Why did she need him to ask the question? Did that then give her control over him? Did that you know, that once he says, you know, is that sort of I think maybe even she does say kneel. So while she's in that mind control black-eyed space or whatever, she's trying to gain control over him. And I guess maybe once he kneels or asks a question, how control, she could have used him like Kalnaka to attack. So maybe that's what that was all about, because I didn't quite understand what was going on there with regards to him needing to ask the question of her. And once he does,
it's like
then it's
that hint of emotion type of thing where he was kind of, nobody knew he was being taken over. It was just in his mind, and he was holding her off. But when she's like, tell me what you want, and his psyche just kind of breaks for that.
That's right.
It cracks for that moment, and he's like, I want to go home. And she finds the weakness. She's like, I'll get you home. And she just tears into him. He starts hearing multiple voices. Again, we have no idea what Kalnaka's weakness was.
And that's when
wouldn't that
that's
wash
when
you
the
out of
eyes
the
go
Jedi?
black. So yeah.
Wouldn't that wash you out of being a Padawan if you're like that and don't want to do your mission? Like, I don't understand why.
No,
you think they would have went back?
You guys said there was sort of precedent that sometimes Padawans are like
but
that.
not to that extent.
That would make sense. Well, yeah. And the whole
And
Leroy
again-
Jenkins aspect of just going off the rails and stealing thing, you would think you sort of wash it out of the program too. But
Again, they're young adults. They have to learn the life, and Torben ended up paying for it for the rest of his life.
I would think even if
he felt
he didn't
terrible.
go in
He
there.
aged at that moment. Like after the moment, he realized he's made a massive mistake, and his master was right. So it's
I think
that's
had they
just a
gone
young,
back
dumb.
without even doing all that, him running in there and guns blazing, like I think when they went back to Coruscant, eventually he probably would have been disciplined and probably would have had some kind of action taken against him because he just was not listening and not focused and blah blah blah.
Yeah, again, but they can easily just say, okay, well, you're going to meditate for a while, or you're going to go more on other trips to get away from Coruscant. But again, they hid a lot of stuff, so they didn't tell anybody, and he's sitting there with all this guilt that like eats him alive for years, and he's just like, okay, I'm going to take the vow. I'm not what a Jedi should be. I've jumped into it. He might have did it again down the road or something, so like made another mistake. So, but we'll touch on some little things, I guess, because like I said, there's so many incredible things in this episode. I've seen a lot of people complain about the air speeders and that they looked janky. So, but my thought on that is they wanted them to look janky because you want it to look like the original trilogy. You want the sabers to look the same. You want the movements to look the same. So when they're shooting off on the air speeders and just kind of blasting back and forth, it has that weird motion blur. It's like, that's how it looked in the original trilogy. So to me, it was like a love story, a respect to the original trilogy, that when they stopped and took off from the air speeders, it did look kind of weird. I mean, we have the technology to make people appear to stop, but we all know the original trilogy is we all know the original trilogy had its own technology at the time. So I thought they looked kind of neat. People were complaining about them, but that was no big deal to me. I think it was more of a love for the original trilogy.
I think everything they've done, they did pay attention to little stuff like that. So wait,
yeah, it's just like
Okay.
they moved weird. I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. So,
Yeah.
but I think we got to touch on the line. Where is it? That Mother Anastasia says, I wrote it down exactly. Someday those noble intentions you have will destroy every Jedi.
Yeah.
So I love any time that there's hints to the future. And again, it's hard to do prequels based on pre-established information, but we're so far in the past, it kind of doesn't matter. So when you see lines like that, it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of true. And honestly, I'm not sure how to take that line, because to me, it's not the Jedi's fault that the Republic fell apart. It's Palpatine's fault. So their good intentions, didn't lead to the downfall of the Jedi. The Sith did. So, but I guess in another way.
I mean, that just dovetails right into Marie's beautiful line, because I think Master Soul says, that she said, somehow he says, I only come with good intentions. I only had good intentions. There's that line, and her line back to him of, right, someday those intentions of Jedi are going to destroy them all, or something to that effect, or whatever. What
did she say?
And that's where the fight. It's such a great. Yeah, this episode, one of the more complete, fulfilling, awesome penultimate type of episode, where there was so much in here, so much resolute, so much. Oh, it was good, right?
That's why Jar Jar should be blamed.
You could say they're noble intentions. you could say their noble intentions are them
Yeah,
involving themselves in the war, because that's the big thing where it even divided the Jedi Council. I think it was a vote of like 6-5, something really, it was a very slim margin that came down to one vote to involve themselves in the war. And it was like, yeah, their good intentions is to protect people. They didn't start this war, but their intentions were always to be, we're the best at defending and negotiating. So while we don't want to be in the war, if we don't go in the war, then things will be worse. So our good intentions, and it's like, so I kind of disagree with what Mother Anastasia said. It's like, and again, someday those noble intentions you have will destroy every Jedi.
Well, and it's a bad guy, explaining that, trying to justify their actions.
Like, it's not the noble intentions that killed the Jedi. Their noble intentions were right, by the way. They had to protect people. It was the Sith that planned everything for the downfall. So don't blame the Jedi. So I
that manipulation.
That line. And I don't like that people are clinging to it to be like, see, the Jedi are wrong. It's like, no, this is coming from the bad guy. So, and it's not the Jedi at fault. So again, I am Team Jedi here. They're in the right as far as the prequel trilogy and stuff like that. So,
but we know that they can't stop themselves from dying. So,
I agree with that. I think the Jedi were on the right side. They were on the right side of history. They just ended up,
being
fighting a war they didn't want to fight.
Yep.
Being manipulated into that position that they were manipulated into, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the fact that the road to hell is paved with good intentions is actually a saying.
No, I
didn't make that up.
No, it's old.
I'm just giving kudos. I know it's a thing. It's a whatever. It's in Shakespeare, whatever it is. But that you tied it into what all we're watching and seeing here, whatever. Is
Well, I mean,
it's so pointed and perfect.
It was because I tied that into what happened in the prequels as well. The road to hell being paved with good intentions. Qui-Gon had good intentions to train up Anakin, and then he died.
Yeah, but I don't think it was I don't think it was the good intentions of the prequel trilogy that led to the road to hell, because it was just they were fighting against an unwinnable war from Palpatine the whole time.
The Acolyte is an interstate, and the prequels might have been a back road in terms of the path, because this one is definitely a 2-lane, nicely divided road. This one is just it's brutal to watch, because especially now that you know how it ends, to see it all again and just go, oh, fellas, the guy says, oh,
and then to think of the title of this. To think of the title of this episode, choose differently, and how do things go? That's a beautiful title.
It is. With that revelation, Marie, it is right with the choice, any other choice, and this goes a different pathway, basically, if they would have chose to communicate. And that goes through life. That is such a I have it at work, I have it in my personal life. It's such a thing, that communication, if you communicate differently, if you communicate completely or fully or whatever, things, perceptions, intentions, reading into stuff doesn't happen. Because if you communicate better, fully, completer, everything in life, you don't have this 2-lane, nicely paved road to hell, because things would have, I don't know, would they have worked out better? Because it's not. Yeah, things would be different. Whether they work out better,
they would be different. Whether they work out better or not, you never know. But things would be different. You always go back over. I mean, Saul himself says, I made a choice, and his choice was, he didn't know it, but at the time, but the choice was the wrong one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he did have good intentions, type of thing. So, and that directly led to something bad. That's why I kind of disagree with the prequels, where it's like their good intentions were they're already like halfway to hell, and it's like, whoa, we can't fight against all this. But you brought up the title, choice, and I like that it's a callback to episode 3, the other flashback, Destiny, because I remember saying, because we had night and day and destiny, and I remember bringing up the question, well, what's the opposite of destiny? And I couldn't think of a word to be opposite of destiny. And when it comes with a choice, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so perfect. Like, you have destiny, you're on the straight path, you can't divert from it, your destiny is to do this, but then you have choice that takes you off that path. And it's a brilliant, again, all of these titles are just amazing the way they tie into each other.
kudos to my fellow senators. Man, that is just inspiring stuff right there. Because, yep, that path and then that choice, insight is wonderful. Because both of those are just, add them to what we just watched and have some insight and some thought into that. You're so right on both levels. And the power that those things have in that we had that Destiny episode title, and now we have this choice episode title that it speaks volumes in a huge way. Love it. Absolutely love that insight.
And it also brings to the choice of the thing that we kind of only glossed over, is that Soul had to choose which sister to save. Because I've seen that as an attack online too, is why didn't he just make both sisters float over to him? And you have to remember, again, it's covered more in the books, as everything is, as generally in books. You can't float a bag of meat towards you. You know, that's why Jedi don't fly around like Superman, because yeah, you can push people off, but it's like lifting their feet type of thing. But to pick up someone and make them float is a much higher level of skill, which Soul does have. Let's not forget in episode 2, when Osha goes to fall off the cliff, or May, whichever Osha, Soul grabs her. Remember, she's laying horizontally. That's extremely difficult to do, because you got to think, if you were to pick up a rock with your mind, you can pick it up anywhere. But if you were to pick up a human with your mind, like, they're a bag of flesh. Like, if you accidentally grab their liver and you try to lift someone up by their liver, you're going to kill them. So when you can't just pick up, especially that's a younger Soul. He realized he made a mistake. And then as an older Soul, he has that ability to catch people as they're falling. Like, that's the incredible story and writing of like what Leslie did in this. We might have not thought anything of it in the first or second episode where he caught Osha, but then you realize he trained to do that because he wasn't able to do it 16 years ago. And and he had to make the choice. He's like, they either both die or I save one, and he chose the one he had a connection to. So again, he made a choice, and it ate him up every day. And I just feel terrible for Soul. I really do. Yeah, he did make some kind of wrong decisions, and you had to hide things, which we'll touch on at the next episode. But again, his choice was that episode, and it was Torben had the choice to not run off, and Dara had the choice to either listen to other people arguing or not, and Soul had the choice to save which sister or save no sister. It's just pinnacle, and I can't thank Leslie Headland enough. Like, this writing is just incredible when you binge the whole thing and you watch from beginning to end, not just episode to episode, and then have all these crazy claims. It's like, no, you're not connecting to the past, man, or you're not connecting to what's to come. So just amazing all across the board. So,
yeah, that's for my summary. Yeah, just good addition to Star Wars without having to be super involved with the Star Wars that we know. You know, it was a good addition to the Star Wars universe.
I've been watching these in chronological order. It's been pretty good, too.
And I feel like we could touch on this episode another 30 minutes, because every character deserves their own breakdown. But I feel like we got to move on to the next one. But the way the episode ends is with real music. So, and I don't know.
Was this that episode? That was kind of weird. It was what it was. But it's a penultimate episode, and they're all right. It's the next to last episode, and yeah, they were just. But it was weird.
It didn't bother me. Why not try something new? To me, it was kind of like this bop where I'm like, okay, that's kind of catchy. It doesn't change anything about Star Wars. We're watching a series here.
Yeah, it's a TV show.
So it's like no big deal. And I always watch and again, that's not a Star Wars thing to have after credits, but I stay through the credits. I look at names and stuff like that. Now that I missed Ki-Adi-Mundi's name, I'm like, okay, I'll just read everyone's name. And that music started, and I'm like, yeah, man, that's kind of catchy.
It's funny because everybody was talking about it, and then like I was like, I don't even remember hearing it. And then I watched it a second time, and then I automatically turned it off as soon as the credits started rolling, so I didn't hear the song. Like,
hey, really, you're quick to turning it. Oh yeah, I'm like Ryan. I know, don't necessarily.
I know there's no
read everything, but I just let it play out, and just I guess I'm flitting on my phone, capturing thoughts and doing whatever kind of thing, whatever. But yeah, I don't turn the credits off because you just don't know what's gonna be a part of it all. So all right, so we move on to the finale, the 8th episode in this fun little ride. Can't believe it happened. Yeah, that it was here and came, and that was like 2 weeks ago or however long ago, or a week ago now. But wow, yeah, it was just a week ago. So Wowzers.
That wasn't even a week ago. It was 5 days.
Yeah, Tuesday.
I'll tell myself just for the listener that or pre-game or whatever that I had sat down and was so excited to watch the finale that I was an hour early. Sitting down, getting my snack and getting myself all comfy and ready, and I dial up Disney and I realize, you idiot, it comes on at 9, not 8. So I just put down my dinner, ate my dinner and anxiously waited for the show, which worked out fine because then I sort of concentrated, I guess, if you will, or just watch the show versus watching and eating, which I like to do. But yeah, I was so jazzed and so excited for this finale to see. Even though that final or that next to last episode, as was mentioned, had so much information in it and was so good, there were still a lot of things that needed to be addressed and answered or expounded upon, and we got that in this finale. Because doesn't this open up with her
with the helmet?
This is the episode where she has the helmet on, but he somehow she turns his eyes black.
Well, Stephen needs to read the synopsis.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm excited. I'm just sorry, Ricky. I'm excited to talk about it. So yeah. Chancellor, if you will.
Okay, hang on. Let's get my glasses on. I ain't got glasses on. Okay, yeah, so chapter 8. Episode 8 even, yes. The Acolyte. That's his title, by the way. Not that's there. So yeah, Sol takes May to Brendok and sends a location to the Jedi. Osha has a vision of May and agrees to lead Kymer to her. A mysterious figure watches the pair depart. That's a bit out of order, isn't it? Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Finester is told by Senator Rayencourt that the Senate grows wary of Jedi secrets and launches an investigation into the Order. In the ruins of the Riches' fortress, Osha confronts May as Sol and Kymer fight. May disarms Sol but chooses to let him live so he can confess his crimes to the Jedi Council. Sol reveals that May and Osha are the same person created through a virgins on Brendok and admits to killing Anasea. Osha angrily kills Sol using the Force, corrupting the kyber crystal in his lightsaber, which turns from blue to red. She and May escape before Finester arrives with a group of Jedi, and that's the question that can be answered later, and finds Sol's body while briefly sensing Kymer. The sisters reconcile, and Osha agrees to train with Kymer. He uses a Force to wipe May's memory. Finester covers up what happened by stating that Sol killed Torbin, Andera, and Kalaka, and the witches while committing suicide afterwards. Kymer was once her apprentice, and she wants an amnesic May to help her find him. Lester reports to a Jedi Master, which says at the end, which is obviously, of course, Yoda.
Yeah, right.
They totally skipped over like when he was chasing her in the ship, and then.
Well, you kind of got to really stip it down. You can't get everything into it.
Yeah.
So, but the biggest thing with this is what was everyone's reaction to Plagueis? Like, holy smokes, they did it! Like,
it was pretty early in the episode too.
I missed it the first time, I admit that, but the second time I watched it, and it was so creepy. It was like a total jump scare moment for me.
Yeah, he really.
Ryan will be proud of me. I was happy. It was an audiobook, but I was happy I had read the book, that I knew he was a Mun or whatever, and that's what he was supposed to look like. So I instantly, and because of all the speculation and was Khmer the big bad, or was there a big bad above him and all that I instantly took it to think it was to be Plagueis, especially with the line in the prequels about Darth Plagueis. So I believe it's to be him. I don't think the subtitle, he didn't say anything, so I don't think there's anything that confirms, if you will, that it's him, but sure had the look of that was described in and all of it, and I think it works perfect to have him there. Now, was he spying on Khmer the whole time in the cave? Does Khmer know he's there when he has Osha? Or is he, is Khmer doing all that knowing he's under the watchful eye of that master? Or is that master being sneaky of his apprentice, Padawan, whatever they call him in the Sith or whatever, to see that he's working on an acolyte? How much do we think he would truly know?
Or is Khmer being a puppet like Snoke? Because he should be dead.
I mean, that
like
really is.
her apprentice.
That really is.
But Khmer knows an awful lot of stuff, so he had to be taught by somebody. He knows some pretty powerful He's got to be learning that somewhere. But he was a fallen Jedi or something because Vanestra knows him and says you, and he quickly puts his helmet
But
back.
it's weird because he
on.
said
So,
like,
yeah, there's
oh,
a
that was
lot for season 2, dude.
he tells her like it was a long, long time ago, and then we know Vernestra's like over 100 years old. Like, when was he her Padawan? You know,
Well, that's
like
true. He does make that weird comment of a long
It
time
could be
ago.
80
and
years.
all of
And that's
too.
a long time for a human. So it could
He's
be
a
80
young
years ago. That's
guy.
a long time.
yeah, but he doesn't look 80 years old.
Yeah,
I was
he's
saying
a young guy. That's what we're trying to say. He's a young.
like if he's
in this form, could he be something else or whatever?
or is he just
Or-
a vessel? You know,
Right, or is it? Oh, I like it, Ricky. So is he a puppet like Snoke? That line about I was a Jedi a long, long time ago is actually
Well,
Plagueis.
Yeah.
If he
Sort of
was
through
a puppet,
Khmer as a
well,
vessel.
Plagueis wasn't a Jedi though. So it was Khmer
Yeah.
saying that he was a Jedi, but in the Plagueis book, Plagueis maybe not has the ability, but he tests on extending the life of people. So that's in the Plagueis book where he runs experiments on things to try to unnaturally make them live longer. So
Well, he
and
could
now
stop
he
people from dying.
yeah, that's exactly what his thing is. And he learns, I will touch on that later. So, but regardless, I think that is still the big question about Plagueis and Khmer is, are they working together? Does Plagueis look at him? Is he training Khmer? Because now Khmer's taking on a student and Plagueis wouldn't like that because the rule of two exists. So I think that's still a huge question that makes me not want, but need with a guttural sense, need a season 2 because
Yeah, agreed. I don't
like-
want that stuff expounded upon in books or comics or something or whatever. I agree that I think it's a guttural need of a season 2 to keep to back. You know, it might not work for the lay fan or the casual fan or the casual viewer. It might get into super deluxe-y lore that sort of throws them off or something. You know, I'd love to be able to watch this show or hear somebody just pick up this show and watch it from a just an interest in murder mystery or you know, and just a story being told to them, not needing to know the lore. Can they follow along? Do they follow along? Does it work for that type of individual that they would then want to know more or see more from a season 2 aspect? Because I don't think you have to be super steeped in anything for this to work for you. It's
well, no,
you know,
I mean now
it's
you know
bad
there's this
decisions
mysterious
and
character and you know.
yeah, and you see the switch. You know, there's a lot that so yeah, I don't think you'd have to be so invested in it for it to work that you would also a casual fan would also want a season 2.
And I'd be fine with books personally, but that's just because I read a lot. I know a lot of people wouldn't because, you know, great stories are told on screen. But it would be a way to get people to read books and audiobooks. If it's like, yeah, you want the continuation or at least some filler. Like imagine if there was a book between seasons, if they wrote a book about May's training, you know, just a book between May and Khmer.
That would
incredible.
work. Right. To have some book filler, but not the meat of the season 2.
I think they do
answers.
there does have to be continuation on screen for all the stuff they set up in this episode.
Yeah, you can't leave that. I mean, it was amazing.
Disney Plus needs content. I mean, I hate to get into the minutia of why stuff should happen, but yeah, Disney Plus needs content. So here's a perfect way to make content for the many fans, just not vocal like the crybaby, you know, just many fans that enjoyed this. So you know, to keep it up. What's everyone's take?
This one started with the helmet, right?
Yeah, because that's what I said. She. This is the one where she has the helmet on and turns Khamir's eyes black. Like, what was going on there? She was so in tune with the Force, but it like scared her. You know, you almost need another episode of a flashback of what was going on in her head.
Well, and did you notice
took Khamir's
when she took the helmet off? When the helmet came off, her eyes were red, and then they turned back to normal. Like
I missed that.
Her pupils.
I missed that too.
Yeah.
Like her
she
pupils
has, like, red
or
eye.
the whole eye.
She had the Sith eye. You're saying?
It looked like it was the pupil was red, like not her eye. I'd have to watch it again, but yeah, I did. I noticed it a couple times. The 2 times I watched it, I did notice it, and then like, but now that I can't remember if it was the middle, like she had red eye from a camera, or if it was.
I just remember being creepy. It's just her and that helmet on, and like the helmet acting. She cricks her head or tilts her head in an ominous way or something, and it just remember it being, and the helmet's already creepy with that damn smile. You know, it's just super creepy. I mean, some good helmet acting and making me have emotions of what's. I'm sure the music was probably swelling or otherwise contributing to what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing on screen or whatever. But it was good.
I mean, we do
and
know in
she's
Star Wars
choking and gagging and
yeah.
it was really visceral.
There are Sith artifacts that have, like we talked about this before with the Shadows of Sith book, that they they're possessed kind of by Sith lords, so maybe this helmet is an ancient relic or something like that, so it has some kind of corruption.
I definitely thought of you guys and coaching me up in that book and all of that. I would have never known that when he talks her into putting it on, is he being a bad guy, like put it on because then once it does, I know it's going to be able to possess, it's going to convert you way easier than I did. Because of that book and that sort of artifacty aspect to helmets having power like that we haven't seen on screen. So here's their chance to whatever. I definitely thought of you guys in that book. What's the book title?
Shadows of Sith.
Shadows of the Sith, for anyone to read that, because it speaks to that thing. It does not seem like that was necessarily the case in this helmet, that it was possessed or had anything, but it's got some sort of power over the wearer, or gives some sort of power to the wearer. She couldn't control it, and it scared her to, like Marie said, she's coming up choking and gasping and sort of taken back by what she just saw or happened to her just by putting the thing on and not even doing anything about it. So she doesn't have any sort of control over the power that it has. But
or maybe it was kind of like a floodgate opening up, so she got all this dark side unlocking in her that it just overwhelmed her when she had it on, because and sensory deprivation kind of.
It scared Kamir too. Like he was totally taken aback by it, and I love that this Sith or Ren, whatever he may end up being, but this very powerful dark side user was able to get past kind of yank the helmet off. But
he was fighting through the black eyes to get it, to take it off of her somehow.
Well, and then he's like following her around, like falling behind her, like when they're leaving, like he's not in charge anymore, kind of thing.
Well, she saw the vision. Point. She knows. Yeah. She knew where they were, because he says, "You're not going to tell me." He's like, "No, I'm not telling you. We're going together. I know." Or he says, "No, I'm going to take the ship," and he's like, "Where?" She's like, "Where to?" I saw where they were, so it's set up nicely that they had to go together. But then he has a line where, like, well, not if I get to her first. Once we get there. Good luck. We're on our separate ways. It's this weird teaming up. He even says a line about, have I given you the impression that I'm a fair person or something like that? And she's like, yeah, no, you did that with my sister, so we'll go there. And then whoever gets to her first. Mindset.
Then he asked her again, like, do you want to join? She's like, no. He's like, well, your sister didn't hesitate,
Yeah, he asked her, do you want to join? She says no, and he says last chance, and she was like, look, no means no, mister. And I thought that was odd that he was like last chance. I thought he was going to fight her or run off with a ship without or something, but I guess it was just to be able to manipulate her a little bit more by saying, oh, your sister didn't hesitate. She took the choice immediately, whereas,
that's why I'm wondering if
so it was
maybe he is working with Plagueis, and they're just trying to play her to get her powers from her somehow, to learn how to do what the witch stuff is, because that seems like something.
I thought of that too, but they had May already, and they don't know her real potential. And they also don't know that they're birth of the Force. So
I don't think they realize. I don't think they realize the importance, like the Jedi do, where they suspected the two girls as a virgins, because we don't know how Kamir comes to find May. May fought, she got sucked out the tube, so somehow he finds her. Whatever. He didn't rescue her from the fall or anything. He wasn't there at the time. Somehow he finds her and finds out whatever. That's for season 2 or whatever. But they don't. The baddies don't know anything, or don't have any reason to suspect virgins in the Force between the two girls. They never got a chance to do the blood test, M count, and their two. Whatever that other term was is the same. Like Torben uses some term about their it's in a previous episode. Their something else is basically like a DNA type of term. It's not similar. It's the exact same, and that's where they're
symbionts or whatever.
So they're symbionts. What the heck is that? I don't know what that is. It's the exact same. It's not close. They're like the same person, and that's where they go.
Life forms mutually beneficial to each other or something like that.
The bad guys don't know any of that, so they have no reason to want May and Osha at the same time. So they're just looking. They just know they have power for
I
whatever.
mean, I would think if
So-
anything, Plagueis would know, and that's why he's kind of scoping them out. You know,
Why would he be any smarter or know than the Jedi don't know? They didn't sense the Virgins. They were just there wondering why the planet that's supposedly dead now is life. And
no,
then
they were there because
get
they did sense the Virgin. That's why they were checking that planet, because they felt
They didn't
said the
sense
Virgins like
they didn't sense it. They suspected.
yeah, because life was regrowing. I guess that's what the Virgins is like sudden
How did
bursts
all this
of
life How did all
rebirth?
this
Yeah.
life happen on a planet that was dead? So they're searching for the yellow tree. I don't know. I thought the yellow
Yeah,
tree.
like the Virgins creates like life that creates balance, I guess. And when they found Anakin, it was inside Anakin and not a object or a plant or something like that. That's what was making it special.
Yeah, it's just a pooling of the Force, a massive
Yeah.
pooling of the Force. So
Basically, yeah.
Why? Oh, shoot. What's the little tracker dude's name?
Basil.
Basil. Why did Basil sabotage or otherwise mess up Soul's pursuit of May?
I was wondering the same thing.
And he gets involved.
He was trying to save his soul because he was going to murder her when her back was turned. She was running away.
So that's kind of that's kind of where I ended up with it when I was thinking about it. That he is sensing Soul is going to take her out, and he realizes that's not what Soul should do, and his only play is to sabotage his ship so that he can't shoot her down. Because shooting her down isn't the right play here.
Yeah, but he's not a Jedi. He doesn't care. I don't understand why.
He's still smart.
Doesn't he work for the Jedi though? Isn't that why
He's
they have
still
him?
knowledgeable. He's smarter than He's not just the Wookiees are smarter than you would think, but they look like a big furry dog walking carpet. So why
Isn't he
would
like
he
a
not,
Jedi
why could he
assistant?
not be?
Did he come
He's
from
not
the
a
temple or
Jedi,
did he come
he's
from
just
the
a
planet?
tracker. He's just a tool.
No, but did he
he's
come from the temple or did he come from the planet? Did they just meet him there on world, or was it somebody that they use all the time?
I
for
think it's
Jedi
somebody
business?
a tool they use all the time. Whether
Yeah,
I think
see, so
a force or
he's
something.
familiar with the tenets and all that stuff. So he's like, wait, they're not supposed to do this, and so that's why he's not a Jedi or anything, but
It was definitely odd, clearly not explained or otherwise expounded.
But it was
upon or
there
whatever.
for a reason.
Yeah, my take was sort of he was trying to stop Soul from doing yet another bad thing or a really bad thing by taking her out, because he had her in his sights, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he was about to push the button.
Or is Basil in some way Force sensitive that we don't know about? And there was that whole thing, like what was his name? Chirrut Imwe said in Rogue One that the Force moves darkly around a being that's about to kill.
Oh, that is beautiful tie-in, Marie. Yes.
Yeah.
And he senses, and Basil senses that to some extent, and knows that's not what. And it's kind of what I was saying. Knows that's not the path. Knows that's not what he should do here, and does the only thing he can do: sabotage the ship so that he can't take her out, because he senses that he sees that Force moving around.
And he was supposed to track her, so if he would kill her,
then
then his track would be dead. So his mission was to track her down so they can apprehend her. So I guess that would go against his mission.
Yeah, that might just end his mission a little prematurely, but maybe his orders were to bring her in alive or something. We don't really know, but I think he might be like a smidge Force sensitive, or at least like very, very intuitive, and be like, wait, no, don't do this. You're messing everything up.
Well, I mean, I think anybody that would have been on that ship with them, and he's like, no, I'm going to kill, like, what are you doing? Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. I think anybody sitting there on that ship would have probably did something to stop him,
Yes.
I'm like, ram her.
they finally get on planet. Kamir and May, they crash land or whatever, and then they go their separate ways. She's like, we got to get up there. We can do this together, or we can climb or something like that. Or we got to use the elevator. I don't know what she says or whatever. But he like, oh, are you sure? And disappears. I mean, he's got bad guy powers, and we don't have to know what it was. We don't have to see it or whatever. But they did a bit of a production trick or whatever you want to say, where the camera focuses on her, and then you see her turn around to look back at him or whatever, and he's gone. It's just like, wait, what do you like? Force jump Superman? Did the Jedi run fast thing away from? What happened here? Where'd he go? But It's a bad guy skill that he has that he could do that. So, and it worked for the story. He had to go away so that she could, take the long way, and he could get there ahead of time. And
yeah, maybe he did the witch thing and like vamped over there.
No, he ain't got that power yet. Not with the helmet, because he had the helmet on. Of course, she made her staff and her clothes disappear too, so I guess you can do that.
I'd like to see the wide view where she turns around and then he just goes and just like huffs it to that tree like 10 feet away. And like,
yeah, a bit of a robot chicken-y type of way to handle that. The way she
just takes off running and he's just peering behind the tree because that's where Soul was hiding at the previous episode. He's just like
I've seen enough Batman movies where he just disappears and it's like practically not possible.
Yeah,
so I didn't mind it.
That's what I mean. I didn't spend a whole lot of time being concerned and concentrated, but it was just one of those. That was a bit of a cheap out, but whatever. The bad guy's got a skill that makes him go poof when he needs to climb up the incredibly tall or get in there or do whatever it was he needed to do. It was a great. I thought it was a wonderful. Realizing it as I'm watching it, just a wonderful storytelling, just beautiful storytellers telling that it culminates. And I mean, it dawned on me, and it made perfect sense. All of this is culminating back where it started. That we're back at this place, and where the girls had their fight and locked her in and started the fire, and where the witches, and where he killed the mom, and he's sensing it, and all of that was just. Great storytelling and just so it's obvious now. Sure, it makes sense. That's where they should be. But Khmer and Soul were having their red and blue lightsaber fight in that courtyard and doing all that sort of stuff. That's just so wonderfully Star Warsy. Great lightsaber fight, I thought. Right?
I didn't expect to have more battles. Like I kind of thought, okay, we had the big battles the last episode, and then we had 2 more amazing battles, like Soul and Khmer fighting. And I might have liked it more between the 2 sisters because I loved that they were truly falling into their roles where Osha was embracing anger and May was like, I just want you to be happy. Yeah. And then they end up doing the same moves. Like I love
that was the mirror fight. Yeah, the part of the fight that was mirrored moves was clever too.
It was just
because they're the same person and all.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? Exactly. They're the same person. It just speaks volumes to that. Yeah, the fight scene between them.
I like Soul and Khmer fighting, and then when they do the backwards fall thing, that was cool, like the slow motion thing.
Yeah,
the fight choreography on this one was amazing.
Yeah,
right. Some great use of slow motion, and sure, it's tropey. We've seen it. I hate those arguments. I've said this before. Whatever. It's 2024. We're gonna have seen it all before. There's not. But it was cool. Exactly.
Yeah. It was
a great
cool.
use of those effects and those things and that backward fighting and the double kick as you're walking up the body and all that sort of stuff. There was one scene in here that I thought was awesome. And I've really come to love Master Soul and just crushed to see him, have the fall and the mistakes that he made or whatever. Because bad dude, Khmer throws his lightsaber, which I always think's a bad idea or whatever. But he was like force boomeranging him. He was doing the trick. I don't know if you guys ever do this when you're throwing snowballs with your kids, whatever. You make 2 snowballs and you throw one up high in a high arc so they watch that one. And while they're watching that one, you throw a line drive right at them. And he was Khmer was kind of doing that with the lightsabers where he threw them, but then he's coming and attacking with punches in Soul's face, trying to distract him from the lightsabers that he's force pulling back to him. But Master Soul is a Jedi master, and pardon my French, badass, puts his lightsaber in his hilt and force deflects all of that nonsense.
Yeah,
the lightsabers goes away, pushes Khmer back against the thing. I don't think makes his that doesn't make his helmet fall.
He breaks his saber, doesn't he?
Well, that's later, but in this force push, in this Master Jedi move, it was just his use of the Force protecting him from all the stuff the bad guy was throwing at him, and I loved it. It was such a great choreographed fight, saber wise, Force use wise, knowledge of things. Oh yeah, it's worthy of being watched many times because it was a very good lightsaber Force bad guy good guy fight scene for sure. There was you talked about the breaking of the lightsaber. It was an awesome visual because they're fighting each other and they cross their paths. He force cuts his lightsaber and they both sort of stop with their backs to each other. Soul's still got his lightsaber ignited. Kamir's holding it. They both realize the fight is over at this point, but they're stopped with their backs to each other until Kamir finally turns around, takes his helmet. That's where he takes his helmet off, I think, because he's there. He's got the lights. Master Soul's pointing the lightsaber at us, and that's where Osha comes in and takes the lightsaber out of his hands or whatever. It's such a well done scene of acknowledging you've bested me, but you haven't, because I got an ace in the hole, which is I know Osha's coming into play. I know senses her running in, or no, I think it's Osha.
No,
at this point. Yeah, at this point,
Osha comes out of the shadows from behind. May takes the saber from him, and then May throws the saber, and then Osha is standing behind when May talks to Soul, and she's just like, admit that you killed my mother, and he's still trying to get around like, well, I didn't mean, it really was an accident. And then he's just like, fine, he finally admits it,
and she hears
and
it. Yeah.
Osha is behind him, and that's when Osha picks up his saber. So
that was
Osha,
broken, right?
Right.
Because his saber got broken too. Because you could see the crystal.
Yeah, they showed it like it was broken, like it wasn't going to work, and I was kind of, but I think they were just showing that it was broken, that the crystal was exposed.
Yeah.
That she then had physical contact with the crystal, and that's how her anger and everything. That's what ends up leading to it bleeding. That just
for us to see it. So, I mean, it has a focusing lens, so I almost wish it would have came out like Kylo's saber, like kind of crackly, because it's called a focusing lens for a reason. So, but then again, that's just me being technical, and I have to throw it to the side.
Well, that part.
I had a technical question too, because as it's being bled from blue to white, it's like misty and smoky, and there was something else going on there. I didn't quite understand what was happening, that the color would be bleeding and having this sort of burning off of the blue, so you saw the smoke. But whatever, we've never seen a saber bleed before, so that's how it happens. I got the whatever. So when a lightsaber bleeds, it's going to do that, sort of have this sort of this mist or this smoke coming off because the blue's burning away and it's turning red. Whatever. It was cool to see a lightsaber bled on screen. It was a neat thing to have experienced.
I wish we would have saw this crystal grow more and more red, like as angrier she got, because
we saw that. We did. There's a scene where the crystal's turning before she ignites the saber. There's a scene we see the crystal turning red.
I think Ryan means he wants it more progressively as it happens.
I wanted her to get more angry, because the common fans may not kind of see it, but because I mean, Peter and Ben Solo did it, Anakin and Ben Solo did it, so. And they went through a lot to do it, where she so I wish her emotion would be riled up more and more to kind of make that connection, that it's just like, she's feeding it into that crystal unknowingly, probably, and we know that she's very strong.
So you're saying instead of sort of a switch that took place in terms of her going to bed, you want a dimmer that sort of is gradually being turned up and turned up and turned up and turned up to where it gets to the point of being red, versus the sort of quick happening. But
yeah, I'm not talking about the blade, but just the crystal. So maybe
no, that's what I mean. The crystal, because I definitely remember seeing a scene where the crystal's turning red, and I was like, oh, well then when the lightsaber turns on, it's going to be red. And then that didn't happen. It turned on blue and bled to red. And I was just like, oh, well. So that might be your gradual thing. We see the crystal sort of turning red, that it got redder and redder enough to ignite, make the emitter or make the blade. Regardless, we saw a crystal being bled from good guy to bad guy.
It's not a complaint. It's just me wanting more, really. I mean, it's just wanting more.
What's wrong? There's nothing wrong with wanting more, right?
Right. It's not a bad thing. So we got to see it turn red. She has Soul's lightsaber. Is that very, fitting. And then she chokes and kills Soul, and he says it's okay. So Soul's always regretted what he did. He tried telling her over and over. He's like, when May and Osha are like, why didn't you tell me? And he's like, I wanted to. And I understand that from a soul, from my soul perspective. I mean, there's things that I wanted to tell my kids through very personal points of my life and stuff like that. When they moved in with their mother and all this stuff, there's things I wanted to tell my kids. And it's just like, you're not ready yet. You can hate me all you want.
Yeah,
you're ready.
Not ready.
A full story. I will take the road I don't want to travel to make you happy, and I will bury all my feelings in myself to protect you. And it was hard for him. So I connect with Soul very much in that moment where he's like, I always have to tell you. So it's just very touching moment in that.
Then she finally kills him without a weapon.
Yeah.
She doesn't finally, but it finally happens.
Yeah,
Kamir sees that it can be done, or I don't know what, or, is Kamir a vessel for play? Is that a thing they want to see happen to where you can dispatch a Jedi, without a weapon, just with your mind, with your force capabilities, well,
then he tells him, like, you kill a Jedi by killing the dream. He killed the dream,
So full circle from where we were in the first episode of Fight Me, trying to kill without a weapon, to where it happens. It's just not May, it's Osha, but they're actually one and the same. So it is. There's such deep stuff in all of this that's going to take some time for some people to get and their head around and understand and appreciate the value of the story that was told on screen to us, that is the show The Acolyte, because of season 1, because it was so good, it was so powerful. Do we suspect this is the first use of force choking ever?
No.
I think it's happened before.
I think it has happened before in the books, right?
Yeah, everyone's a force choke at some point. I think it's just a common thing for dark side users, and Jedi just don't use it. So it's just her unlocking her ability type of thing. And again, Soul didn't try to stop her. He didn't fight her. He just said it's okay, and that's when she finished him. And it's just like
punishment.
This is my penance. I will accept my fate as I've wanted to do since the beginning, and he's free of the burden now, type of thing. So, it's just incredible story over. And like they said, they killed all the characters pretty much until Vern discovers everybody, and then she has to report it to the Chancellor because Senator Rayencroft or whatever is a total jerk. I hated that guy.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
The whole setting up of Senate oversight over Jedi, and the Senate some parts of the Senate not trusting the Jedi, and that's seed that's been sown and otherwise fertilized and watered by Palpatine when the time comes, and all, that he sees some of that and sees it as a way to use it, being the baddie that he is or whatever. Just all of that setup that takes place and we see in this episode, or in this show, was powerful, wasn't it? To have that and hate that senator for it, and cause the Venestra the hassle she had, that what does she have to tell Yoda?
Yeah, what is she going to tell Yoda?
I feel like she's telling Yoda the truth, but she told the Senate something else. She told the Chancellor because she had to hide it, because Rayencourt hates the Jedi. Like he wants Senate oversight because of his own personal feelings. So he's imposing his will, because he literally tells Vernesta, "You're an occult, and I don't think you control feelings." And then she uses the Force to open the door right in front of him. She's just like, "We done?" And then she opens the door for him.
Opens the door. Yeah, I liked her lines and everything. Is that all? You got anything else? All right, you're finished. She didn't say you're finished, but you're finished. I'm done with you. On to the next thing.
They complained about Vern and like, why was she worried about political? And it's because of this. So again, Jedi shouldn't be concerned with that, but I get it also, because this guy is just a straight a-hole, man. Like, he involves all these other people. It's like, listen, we're just trying to solve these only problems. And when there's multiple dead, she's like, it's all Jedi. It's an internal problem.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing.
It doesn't involve you.
She says multiples, and it catches his eye, and he's like, wait, multiple deaths? And it's just like, yeah, we got it under control. Just slow your roll over the tough guy. But yeah, it speaks to that whole Jedi, that Senate, that bureaucratic oversight and involvement that doesn't need to be there, but does it, because they are kind of right. What are they covering up? What happens if one does go rogue and becomes too powerful? Will you be able to control them and rein them in? So there is a bit of a dichotomy there of well, he does, from his point of view, he is kind of, allowed to be concerned, because what happens if, that if they become powerful, the Senate doesn't have any way to.
Well, and then Vern's dealt with people who hate Jedi, like pretty much her whole, adolescence, when she was a Padawan in the Night. So she knows what could happen if you get people turned against the Jedi.
Turn against.
And then, oppression happens and stuff, so she's trying to prevent that. So I kind of at first I was kind of mad, because why is she making up this stuff? But she does have to kind of protect it from people like that, for it doesn't mess up the galaxy and the
And
Ryan,
Jedi.
you asked,
let's not
or you?
forget that Plagueis is, excuse me, Plagueis, he controls like part of the banking. Like Plagueis is a huge supporter from the Plagueis book of all sorts of senators and stuff like that. And it says in the show that senators from the expansion region, so from the outer edges, have problems with the Jedi. So it can easily be thought
He's
that
already
Plagueis
planting the seeds.
is paying for these, super crazy fringe senators, which happens in the real world. They got a backer who has their own thing to tear down the Jedi. The best way to tear down the Jedi is to invest in people that don't trust the Jedi, who have a really loud voice, and then they want Senator Overlook that will just mess things up. And it's like, you've been doing fine for 25,000 years. Like, what's it got to do with you, man? Mind your business. So Plagueis can again be investing in these loud voices to stir controversy to eventually lead to the downfall of the Jedi. So it's all a master plan.
Hey, what happened to all the witches? Ryan talked about how I like the Jedi and who cleaned them up, and my concern's always with the lightsabers, not so much the bodies, but who cleaned up the witches' bodies when they killed them all? Or something. They walked them away or whatever. So then when they're back here, Soul walks over that. I think he walked over that area where they were or whatever. And that's what made me wonder what happened to all the witches' bodies. Who would have dealt with them, because everybody was dispatched. Just a weird thing to think of. And then the other thing I wondered how May survived, right? And I wondered where Khmer came into play and all that. But they do an awesome throwback to Empire Strikes Back, Cloud City, Luke and his fall, and how he was saved, where he got sucked into a tube. Because she literally says, I got sucked into this, I don't know, control tube or whatever it's called. I got sucked into here, whatever, in my fall. That's how she knew how to escape. That they had to climb down because it wasn't working this time. Although when they were in the tunnel, I noticed lights came on. That's what made me realize it was very much like Cloud City or whatever.
Doesn't
so it
May
still had
climb
some
up
power.
from the bottom? Right? She they show the part where she fell off and her hands grasp up against.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows you how she climbed back up too.
Yeah, she climbed up out of there, but then when they were leaving, she got down that way too. So.
Yeah. But a neat little throwback to there that's how they escaped or got out of there, kind of thing.
Yeah, and in Cloud City, even the lights came on as Luke slid down everything. Yeah. So I just another respectful. It is ridiculous that tube opens up.
How would the lights come on? The power should have been done, but the power was there for the elevator too. She got it running, so whatever.
Well, we don't know how electricity works in Star Wars.
Backup batteries, whatever, it works, kind of thing. Whatever. But that's how they escape and find Khmer, or otherwise get back to.
They got to the tree, and Khmer found them, and that's when he's like, "If I can find you, so can the Jedi. Make a choice." And at first I wondered why would May choose to be kind of mind wiped in the whole thing, but then as I rewatched the episode this morning, she was just like, it was almost her apology. You always wanted to be trained a Jedi. You always wanted to be something other than this coven. So I'm willing to have my memory wiped away so you can live your dream now. A dream of evil, I guess, but still, regardless, where you can be trained into something and you could be something. So she's just like, I'm willing to have my memory erased, because Khmer's like, yo, I'm just going to kill her unless I erase her memory, because she can't know anything about me. And it's just like, I want my sister to go, and I'm willing to have my memory erased for it. And it was touching. So just be like, she can go do what she wants to do, evil, I guess. And I'm willing to have my mind erased over it.
Which I didn't care for, but okay, so it's in universe. The whole ability to mind read with Kylo, I didn't care for, and the mind wiping type of thing or whatever. Just the precedence of that is a little odd. But whatever, that bad guy's got that skill. We can't have it. Yeah, we can't have everybody having that capability, but it works for this for now. That she has that capability or he has that capability, does it, and they go off and she doesn't know anything about it. But how do the Jedi, if it can be wiped, why can't it be a Jedi power could be unwiped or whatever you want to say.
In the old Republic books, Revan had his mind wiped too, because Revan was a good guy. He went to the bad guys, and he had his mind wiped when he went good, because they're like, listen, we don't want you to remember all that dark side stuff, because that's what poisoned you to begin with. So you're too strong to not have. So we're going to wipe your mind of those years that were missing. Anthony spent his time looking, and then that's kind of what happens now. Is now Vern has May, and she's like, "I need you to help find an apprentice of mine." And I was like, "Oh dang!" Like I love that. Just another surprise, another mystery on top of another, where it's just now Vern has a fall. And remember, it was mentioned in the episode with Ki-Adi-Mundi where it's like, oh, it's a Sith. And they're like, no, they were a fallen Jedi. They weren't a Sith. So nobody thinks it's a Sith. Ki-Adi-Mundi said it's a fallen Jedi. The other Jedi said, or it could be like a cult, another sect member, another cult. So the phrase still stands, the Sith haven't been seen in 1,000 years. Yeah. What happens to May? I don't know. That's a story for another. To me, ultimately, May is just going to be a way for Plagueis to take information from and then dispose of her as he will. So it's just like, okay, I got what I needed from you to try to create life, and I'm done with you now. So that's it. And then he moves on to better people like Palpatine. So ultimately, her story is that of death and being buried so nobody knows she exists anymore. That's just the tragedy of her story, and I'm all for it. Not every character needs to be ran through everything. It can just be, here's the end of her story. It was just a step to something else, and it's a tragedy what happened. Okay, cool.
Let's run through this quiz question that Stephen had posed earlier.
Yeah, we could definitely talk about it a lot more, but like you said, you guys, we got to wrap up. Maybe we'll touch on it again next month. I don't know. Points we missed.
A rewatch will bring some stuff up, and we'll have plenty for sure.
Question I completely made up. Well, I didn't make it up. It happened. But yeah.
It's a good question.
How many Jedi, including Fenestra, were present on Brendok in the witch's former compound in the final episode? Just in case some stayed behind at the ships. I can't remember what happened. She said in that one. But so, how many were in the compound? Which is
in the compound or out in the forest?
Sorry,
I'm trying to think of
in the compound. The first time, the highest number of people that we see with her is what you're going for there. Because she sends 2 off to go do something, and he sends the rest off to create a 5-click perimeter and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that first time that they're all there in that compound area, that's what I was thinking of, going mentally back through or whatever, when there was a whole bunch of them there. So you're going to ask each one of us our guess?
Yeah, are we going to do? What's your Jeopardy?
Price is Right rules. Highest without going over. Closest without going over, I mean.
Without going over. Okay. All right then. Okay, so it number including Podesta. So Ryan.
13.
Okay, Ron.
I'm at 17.
All right, Ricky.
I'm gonna go 12.
Dang it! I hate this.
I was gonna say 13.
I was gonna say 12, but I didn't want to go over, so I said 13.
And Marie.
Well, Ricky already said what I was gonna say, so I'll say 11.
Oh, is that going possible? You get ding 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 ding. Someone's got the right answer. I counted 12.
So did I.
I had to freeze frame it a few times in different positions to try to count how many were there, but I counted 12.
So when were you counting, Ricky? No cheating. Who watched that episode and counted?
I watched it last night again. So
what are you counting them then for? I call foul. Yeah. No, I kind of thought
because I noticed there was a lot of them in the forest that got killed.
There was definitely a lot of them there, but I kind of thought my 17 was high.
And there was one Jedi. I'm just remembering this now. There's one you talk about the Plo Klum and all that kind of stuff. There's one Jedi, just like one of the guys who was on the council in the prequel ones, wasn't there? The Jedi dressed up, old chap with a beard and his head, just like one that I remember seeing in the prequel in the Jedi Council.
Not Euro Poof, the other one.
I have to get his picture up. I'm sure it was.
Who's the grumpy one, Ryan, from the one that likes to fight? What was his name? The book we just read.
From Temptation that I didn't finish?
No, not Temptation. From what do you call it?
Living
Force.
Brotherhood. Oh, no, yeah.
The one with the kids in the school. What's that guy?
The grumpy guy with the eye patch. No. Oppo's the snake guy. You talk about the guy with the long ears and the eye patch.
Oh yeah, no, that's no.
I'll have to look up the prequel.
I'll have to look.
He reminded me of somebody anyway. Maybe I got completely wrong. But I'll have to look at the prequel council. list as well. Yeah, okay. So Ricky wins that little quiz question sort of thing, and well, we're done, aren't we? We're done. We've gone over time. Got places to go, people to see, get some food cooked.
Well, we definitely will have more to chew on our next session, I'm sure, as we rewatch this, because we got to talk about what we think happens with Yoda and all that. But yeah, just happy to have the episode, happy to the series. It's just didn't ask for it, but happy to have it. It's kind of like Andor's. It's like any of it. It's just all the Star Wars content that we're getting on screen is such a wonderful addition. I was never expecting to have it. That I've enjoyed watching the Acolyte and would very much. I wish it was like Andor, where they told us we were getting a season 1 and a season 2, so there's no speculation. Or at the end of the episode, there was a to be continued after credits thing, but we don't have any of that, so we're going to constantly be in this sort of limbo-ish until. But it gives them the opportunity at Celebration Japan to announce or show some footage of the Acolyte season 2. So, they got to have some things to reveal later, I guess. So here's hoping that is part of the plan, because I would very much welcome a season 2 of the Acolyte to see more of this story and where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Amazing.
Let's wrap up then. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here this episode. And we should say goodbye from me and goodbye from Ryan.
Goodbye, everybody.
Ron.
Cheers. Stay safe, everyone.
Ricky.
Bye-bye.
And Marie.
Bye, guys. Nice chewing the fat with y'all.
Very good. And may the force be with you all, always. Bye.
Go switch off.
I am the Senate.
Be sure to follow us online. We're at Facebook at PSW Senate. Join our PSW Star Wars Facebook group, where we all are in there interacting. You can find us on Twitter at PSW Senate. On Instagram, we're at PSW Senate Podcast. And on TikTok, we're at PSW Senate Podcast. We look forward to hearing from you.
The Force will be with you, always.
Let everyone know they're being recorded. Everybody, you're being recorded.
What? Blasphemy.
I do not consent.
That's okay. I will remove you from the call.
You've been recording us this whole time?
I know.
What?
I know. It's disgusting, isn't it?
I thought we were just talking amongst friends. Oh my.
We're all friends here. We're all friends.
What's on the agenda? Teasing. Oh wow, I can't wait to talk
books.
about it. I can't tell
Just gonna
you
talk about-
books. Books.
Just talk about books. That's it.
Books.
Nothing else going on.
Nothing else was going on. Holy, that was.
Ricky's gone again.
Ricky! I'm looking forward to a rewatch of Benji proportion, sort of all at once proportions, just to see it again. It was so good.
I watched the 3 episodes. I watched 2 episodes last night, and then the final episode this morning to try to get it in before. So I can't imagine like how different it would be as a binge. Like it just seems.
So I'll have a little bit of reporting on that. Not today though, unfortunately. But my nephew, and so my brother-in-law, they hadn't caught up with the Acolyte. Just busy summertime. It's tough, so they hadn't been watching it at all. Whatever. He was at this point, he was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait for it to end, and then we'll watch it all at once. So I'll be curious to hear their perspective. His adult perspective is he's a very lay fan, and then my nephew's perspective is just a fan of Star Wars or whatever. It's a little deep, big, and all that, but I'm sure he'll like the lightsaber fights and everything that's going on. But it'd be interesting to hear their perspective from the binge approach, because they won't have to wait weeks in between and speculate on this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, and be like, why didn't we get a Wookiee fight? It's just like, you just wait.
All the whys about what this and that is just, I think the fan base would learn better by now to just not have those types of conversations of upsetness or whatever you want to say, because you got to watch the whole show. You have to watch the whole show. So yeah, we'll get into it when we can. But I was so eager. I got to tell myself, I was so eager Tuesday night. I usually like to sit down, hole up in my easy chair, grab myself a nice New York style pizza and a soda, and just enjoy myself. Just let all the world's cares get out of my head and get out of my way, so that I can. And it's like 8:00 and I'm looking for it and it's not there. And I was like, I was so eager and so ready to push the world out of the way that I jumped the gun a little bit and forgot it didn't drop till 9. Like,
get your pizza and everything.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, well, I'm not waiting for this to get cold. I was just, that was brutal. I was like, you big dork. But probably a good thing, because then I got to sort of watch concentrate on watching the show, and not that it takes a lot of effort to eat a slice of pizza, but you know what I mean. I just sat there and watched the show. Nothing else was sort of in the way, and watched the finale. But yeah, I had to laugh at myself. I was so.
Yeah. I have a question. Not a question. I have a question for the for the pod, but not a quiz, such just a question as usual, related to the Acolyte.
Yeah, you throw that at the beginning, and
I hastily
try to
threw together a minute ago.
So it'll be a good one. Yeah, do that, and we'll try to answer it at the end.
I've got the Wikipedia up here, which probably misses out 101 things, and I'm just looking at reading something here, which makes no sense, but that's Wikipedia for you. Okay, let's get going then.